Good morning and welcome to the May 23rd session of Elgin County Council. It is 9:01 a.m. and I will call this meeting to order. Move on to section 2, adoption of the minutes.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the meeting held on May 9th, 2023 be adopted.
Okay, the minutes have been circulated. If there are no errors or omission, I would entertain a mover and seconder to adopt. Councillor Latham will move. And Councillor Noble will second. All in favor? That's carried. I would remind members of any disclosures of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Seeing none noted. Moving down to committee of the whole.
Be it resolved that we do now move into committee of the whole.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Hentz will move. Councillor Sloan will second. All in favor? That is carried. Section 6, reports of council, outside boards and staff. 6.1 from the warden on the 2023 community grant program allocations. I can report that essentially the report is before you. We're a little behind schedule this year in getting these allocations and recommendations to council. Suffice it to say that there are 13 applicants, I believe. 2 were disqualified. If you slip right down to the attachment or appendix A, which will give you a breakdown. Essentially, the ask this year was for $81,380. The allocation available was $72,900. And those groups that did qualify and the allocations are attached at the bottom of the chart. And I would ask if there are any questions. And if they're not, we're looking for a mover and seconder for the following resolution.
Be it resolved that the report titled 2023 Community Grant Program Allocations dated May 17th, 2023 from the Rural Initiatives and Planning Advisory Committee Chair be received and filed, and that council approve the 2023 Community Grant Program allocations as referenced in Appendix A, 2023 Community Grant Program allocations.
Okay, is there a mover and seconder? Deputy Warden Jones will move. Councillor Widner will second. If there are no further questions, then all in favor. And that's carried. Thank you. Section 6.2, the acting manager of planning regarding the Township of Malahide official plan amendment number 21, file number MAOPA 1-23. And I understand that it's Jesse McPhail who's be discussing this. So good morning, Jesse.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of council. So I am this morning the acting manager of planning here in lieu of Paul Hicks, who you're used to showing up. So I'm here to just speak to official plan number 21 to the Township of Malahide official plan. So this is county file 1-23. So this OPA was submitted by Zelinka Priamo on behalf of Paul Wagler. So their business name is 5 Star Metals. So the subject property is 9600 Walker Road within the Township of Malahide. So this is about 5 kilometers east of Almer. The subject property is designated agricultural area in the county OP. It's designated special policy area 6 in the township OP, and it is currently zoned for farm industrial uses with some site specific provisions there. So there is, just for council's benefit, there is an existing agricultural industry operating on the site. So it was a furniture finishing or warehouse and retail business that was operating in tandem with the existing dwelling and farming operation. So this OPA that you have before you was adopted by Township Council on April 20th. The purpose was to essentially permit kind of a shift in the nature of the business on the site. So where it was currently a furniture finishing warehouse and retail activities, the applicant is looking to permit a change to a metal fabrication business. So this would replace the existing permissions for the furniture finishing operation. And this new business would be more focused on manufacturing and production of roof and siding products used primarily for the agricultural sector for the buildings and structures. As part of this proposal, this would include an expansion to the existing sort of warehouse workshop that's on the property. So they'd be looking at constructing a new building and attaching that to the existing building on site. But otherwise, the activities would be more or less located in the same kind of area of business that's currently in place there. So no cultivated farmland or additional ag lands would be used up by the proposal. Concurrently with the official plan amendment, there was a zoning bylaw amendment submitted as to reflect the additional permissions being requested. So the township will be dealing with that subject to the decision on the OPA. And just as a note for the zoning does have a holding symbol associated with it, so that will require site plan control approval to be given by the township before that holding will be removed. So site plan control would just ensure that the activities will be limited and restricted to whatever was approved in the zoning amendment. In support of the proposal, the applicant had submitted a planning justification report, land use compatibility assessment. And so these took a look at provincial guidelines and applicable policy. So particularly with industries in the ag area, there are specific scenarios in which additional permissions can be granted for uses that are located in tandem with farming activities and are at an appropriate scale. There are a few criteria that these operations are subject to. So things like looking at, have alternative locations been explored? Is an appropriate scale and size for the location? What is the current use? So the township staff and county staff have both reviewed the application from a perspective of provincial policy statement policies, county official plan policies, and township official plan policies, and are of the opinion that the application has been appropriately justified and is appropriate for the subject site. So therefore, staff are recommending approval of the proposed official plan amendment. And at this time, I would be open to any questions or comments that council may have. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Jesse. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Seeing none. Jenna, please.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the County of Elgin approves official plan amendment number 21 to the official plan of the Township of Malahide, file number MAOPA 1-23, and that staff be directed to provide notice of this decision in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Jiguer will move. Councillor Sloan will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Section 6.3, Director of Homes and Senior Services, Homes Multi-Sector Service Accountability Agreement, the MSAW, Schedule F. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Mr. Warden, through you to members of council. So before you is the report on the Homes MSAW Schedule F. The Corporation of the County of Elgin does have an MSAW in place with Ontario Health West Region for our adult day program services at both Beaubier Villa and Terrace Lodge. And the agreement requires an annual submission of a signed declaration of compliance, which is Schedule F. This relates to a declaration that we fulfilled our obligations under the MSAW for the applicable time period, which was April 1, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. And the recommendations before you are at that the report be received and filed, and that council authorized the acting CAO to sign the MSAW Schedule F for the period. And happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, thank you for that report, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none. Jenna?
Be it resolved that the report titled Homes Multi-Sector Service Accountability Agreement, MSAW Schedule F, dated May 15th, 2023, from the Director of Homes and Senior Services be received and filed, and that council authorize the acting chief administrative officer to sign the Multi-Sector Service Accountability Agreement, MSAW Schedule F, for the period of April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Noble will move. Councillor Sloan will second. All in favor? That's carried. 6.4, Director of Homes and Senior Services, Sole Sourcing Report Contract, Long-Term Care Transition Coordinator. Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you to members of council. So in 2019, the Terrace Lodge Steering Committee identified a contract position required to support the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project, specifically the operations piece of the project. Council did approve a one-year contract with Gail Kaufman Carlin Consulting, and that agreement was extended again in 2020, 2021, and 2022 as per the terms of the agreement. The previous agreements with Gail Kaufman Carlin Consulting were highly effective, and the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project is currently at a critical stage, preparing for occupancy and readying for phase 2, which is a very complex phase. So successful occupancy plan implementation will require significant dedicated staff and consultant time to ensure the mandatory ministry requirements are met and to support staff and resident safety and well-being. If approved by council, Gail Kaufman Carlin Consulting has agreed to the same terms with a proposed hourly $5 per hour increase. And we're looking at a maximum of 200 hours within the timelines of a 6-month agreement, which was included in the agenda for today. 2 recommendations before council, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for the report, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions? Jenna?
Be it resolved that council approve the 6-month proposed agreement with Gail Kaufman Carlin Consulting for the long-term care transition coordinator in support of the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project, and that the warden and acting chief administrative officer be authorized to sign the agreement.
Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Hens will move and Deputy Warden Jones will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Section 6.5, Director of Homes and Senior Services, Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Project, Advocacy for Construction Funding Subsidy, the CFS top-up. Michelle?
Thank you, Mr. Warden, through to you to members of council. Staff are aware that council is well informed of the current CFS top-up funding available to long-term care capital projects that received written approval to start construction between April 1 of 2022 and August 31st of 2023, which unfortunately excluded the development agreement signed by the Corporation of the County of Elgin in March of 2022 for the redevelopment of Terrace Lodge. Council has already started advocacy to obtain additional funding for the project relative to the new CFS top-up funding available. This report seeks to update council on additional potential advocacy opportunities that may support and or further advance council's efforts. Council representatives and staff attended the Ontario Good Roads Convention in Toronto in April of this year, and a delegation from the county had an opportunity to meet with representatives of the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care regarding our CFS top-up concerns. In April, the warden was able to share our concerns with MPP Flack during a visit to Elgin Manor. Staff have since learned about 2 additional opportunities that may be beneficial to pursue while council awaits ministry communications. Staff suggests that correspondence be drafted to outline the specific concerns related to the exclusion of Terrace Lodge and directly appeal to Brian Pollard, Assistant Deputy Minister of Long-Term Care for Capital Development. This opportunity could enable an individual review of our case and may further support escalation of our case. Additionally, the County of Elgin Homes are a member of Advantage Ontario, and staff are aware that other organizations within this membership are also advocating for this funding as they find themselves in the same situation as the county. Any portion of this funding, potentially for phase 2 and phase 3 of the project, would directly benefit all residents of the County of Elgin by lessening the burden of the debt repayment on the levy. Ongoing advocacy for additional capital funding is time sensitive as we are quickly approaching phase 2 of the Terrace Lodge redevelopment project. Staff suggests that the required information be provided to Advantage Ontario and that correspondence be drafted and sent to the above entities to further our case through additional channels. The recommendations are before you, and Jen and I are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Again, thank you for that report, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I would certainly support the recommendation, Michelle, and I agree with you. It is critical to move forward on this, and we should take advantage of any opportunity that may present itself. Simply over the last 24 months, 12 months in particular, you've seen increases in interest rate, which of course we have not locked in our Infrastructure Ontario debt instruments on this. So we are facing some significant costing increases. So this is an opportunity, hopefully, to mitigate some of that. So I would support moving forward. Jenna, please.
Be it resolved that council authorize staff to collaborate with relevant associations to support advocacy efforts for construction funding subsidy top-up funding, and that staff prepare additional correspondence for the warden's signature that will be utilized to support continued advocacy for increased construction funding subsidy CFS funding for the Terrace Lodge Capital Redevelopment Project.
Do we have a mover and seconder? Councillor Latham? And seconded by Deputy Warden Jones. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Section 6.6, Manager Procurement and Risk Procurement Activity Report Q1. That's from January 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2023. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Warden, through you to members of County Council. So this quarterly procurement activity report details the award of contracts that were approved by directors, and they're valued between $15,000 and $250,000. This report covers the period from January to March of this year. The list of the projects, the supplier, and the amount is attached to the report as Appendix A. All contracts do comply with the county's procurement policy, and at this time, I'd be pleased to answer any questions.
And thank you for the report, Mike. Does anyone have any questions? Staff must do a pretty good job of writing those reports. Okay, Jenna, please.
Be it resolved that the report titled Procurement Activity Report Q1, January 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2023, dated May 15th, 2023, from the Manager of Procurement and Risk be received and filed.
Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Widner will move. Councillor Noble will second. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Section 6.7. From the Manager of Transportation Services, Imperial Road, Port Bruce, request for guardrail. Good morning, Peter.
Morning. On Imperial Road, thank you very much, Jen. Within the village of Port Bruce. And this report considers that request and measures it against existing conditions and technical warrants. The village of Port Bruce, Imperial Road through the village of Port Bruce has an average daily volume of approximately 1,800 vehicles per day. And the location where this horizontal curve is located is a 50-kilometer-an-hour zone. That curve is delineated with reflective markers and advanced curve warning sign, as well as white edge pavement markings, and the roadway shoulders have been paved as well. There's a 2-to-1 gradient on the roadside slopes, and the road is elevated approximately 2 meters from adjacent lands. Staff has reviewed available police collision reports and have identified only one in the past 5 years where someone's failed to negotiate the curve. However, we are aware of more recent collisions that have occurred where drivers have failed to negotiate that curve. Guide rail warrants are satisfied where a combination of the height and the slope of the embankment is more severe than the barrier system itself. In this location, the banks are only 2 meters high. Warrant criteria suggests guide rail is normally installed when there's a height of at least 3 meters. And additionally, these characteristics would support not including guide rail as a warrant area here. For council's information, a barrier system would cost about $30,000. Initial costs, they last about 40 years and obviously have to be repaired every time they're damaged as well. In order to provide drivers with additional visual guidance to the changes in the road alignment, chevron signs may be installed. They're not technically warranted at this location. However, they they would provide a reasonable response to the safety concerns expressed by the Township of Malahide. Therefore, staff recommends that chevron alignment signs be installed along this curve in the village of Port Bruce, and that the township staff be requested to install the signage at the county's expense. I'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that report, Peter. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Smaller ones.
Okay. Jenna, please.
Be it resolved that the report titled Imperial Road, Port Bruce, Request for Guardrail dated May 15th, 2023 from the Manager of Transportation Services be received and filed, and that staff be directed to install chevron alignment signs on Imperial Road as per the Ontario Traffic Manual along the horizontal roadway curve immediately north of Rush Creek Line.
Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Sloan will move. Counselor Widner will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on to section 6.8, Director of Community and Cultural Services, the installation of Oneida Settlement Story mural at Elgin County Heritage Center. Good morning, Brian.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Warden, and through you to County Council. This report seeks Council's authorization to proceed with the production and installation of a mural at the Elgin County Heritage Center. Our department has established a solid working partnership with the Oneida Language and Cultural Center as outlined in the report. And we now have an opportunity to work together on another project that I think will be deeply meaningful for both parties. And that is to depict the settlement journey that their people took in 1840, which began in New York State across Lake Erie, from Port Stanley, then on foot to their current location along the Thames River. So few outside of Oneida are aware of this journey and the fact that a substantial portion did take place in Elgin County. This mural will provide an opportunity to educate the public and provide related interpretation and programming on behalf of our Oneida partners and along a pretty major tourism corridor. I will just say over my career, I had the pleasure of working with Mary Elijah, who was the executive director of the center, and she recently passed away. I know that she would be pleased to see this project go forward. I'm also pleased to say that the staff at the Oneida Language and Cultural Center are very supportive of this project and are continuing on this work. And I want to thank them as well for the opportunity to work with them and support this project. So today we're seeking County Council's authorization to proceed.
And thank you for that report, Brian. Any questions? Counselor Sloan.
Thank you, Warden, through you. The depiction in the picture here, that is coming from our friends that we're working with. So that's good. And that's something they would wish to see. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Deputy Warden Jones.
Thank you, Warden. No, it's great to see. I think it's breaking down barriers that have been around for a very long time. And I'm glad to support this.
Wonderful. Anything additional? Brian, you've identified either location A or location B. What's the preferred on the back end of the building?
So we're preferring that it go to the, I think it's depicted as A. So to the northern portion of the building where we have a picnic area set up. And it'll be slightly more visible from the parking lot as well in that location. Make sure I have this right. Yeah, location A on the photo.
Okay, I was just looking at that. That looks like you got a couple of air exchangers sort of situated in between those.
Mr. Warden, we measured that out, that space, and exactly 16 by 8 will fit in between in between those, and those air exchangers I don't think will have an impact in terms of the quality of the mural.
Okay. All right. If there are no further questions, Jenna, please.
Be it resolved that County Council hereby approve the installation of an interpretive mural depicting the settlement story of Oneida Nation of the Thames on the exterior of the Elgin County Heritage Center, subject to the terms and conditions contained in the May 16th, 2023 report titled Installation of Oneida Settlement Story Mural at Elgin County Heritage Center.
Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Deputy Warden Jones will move and Counselor Hentz will second. All in favor? That's carried. 6.9, Director of Financial Services, Treasurer, Council and outside boards, remuneration and expenses. Morning, Jen.
Morning. Through you, Mr. Warden, to members of council. Each year, as per section 284 of the Municipal Act, the treasurer is required to provide a statement to council related to council and outside board remuneration and expenses that were provided in the previous year. For 2022, the total remuneration and expenses, including conventions for both Elgin County Council and outside boards, was $342,200.04. The outline details are in the subsequent schedules that are attached to this report. And the recommendation is to be received for council information. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report, Jen. Any questions? Seeing none?
Be it resolved that the report titled Council and Outside Boards Remuneration and Expenses dated May 17th, 2023 from the Director of Financial Services Treasurer be received for information.
Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Deputy Warden Jones and Counselor Hentz will second. All in favor? That's carried. 6.10, General Counsel, Elgin Diamond Senior Living Corp. Wastewater Treatment Services Agreement, Elgin Manor Wastewater Treatment Plant.
That's me.
That's you.
Presenting this report in my capacity as general counsel. The report before you is quite detailed and rather self-explanatory. But I would note that this is probably the first time that this matter has been before council since the time it was originally, the agreement was originally approved and authorized for execution. The report informs council as to the compliance status of Diamond Senior Living Corp. In respect of the treatment services agreement for wastewater discharge at Elgin Manor Wastewater Treatment Plant. The source of that wastewater is the Royal Oak Senior Living Facility. And furthermore informs council to consider and if acceptable, approve and provide direction for acceptance of an installment payment plan proposal for quarterly payments to pay an invoice for treatment fees for the period April 1, 2021 to September 30, 2022. For background, the most relevant facts are set out in the report. Simply emphasize that while the Royal Oak Senior Living Facility opened and wastewater began to be discharged to the treatment plant at Elgin Manor in April of 2021, the treatment services agreement was not finalized and signed until September of 22. And as a result, and due to the effective date of the agreement, Diamond Senior Living as operator of Royal Oak was immediately in technical non-compliance with the agreement. Correspondence was directed to DSL outlining the list of obligations, including arranging for preparation and registration of reference plan, and then finalization and registration of grant of easement for transmission pipelines on county lands, as well as a requirement for payment of pre-existing treatment fees. Through subsequent communication, it appears that there was some misunderstanding on the part of DSL as to their obligations. During that time frame, Elgin issued an invoice for treatment fees DSL for the relevant time period in the amount of $124,302.16. there was a slight miscalculation and the outstanding amount was determined to be 117,969.92. A meeting was eventually held between Elgin and DSL representatives in early February of this year, within which DSL proposed to pay Elgin or to forward a installment plan for payment of the outstanding fees to be completed by December 31st, 2023, and to otherwise arrange for the reference plan if existing plans didn't reveal the precise location of the transmission pipelines. The installment proposal was received February 9th, providing for quarterly payments commencing March 31st, 2023 and ending December 31st, 2023. They were essentially equal quarterly payments. Although council had not yet had an opportunity to receive or consider the plan, DSL did make the original payment on March 31st of this year and acknowledged that the payment could be processed in any event since the treatment fees were in fact owing. And then since that time, two further invoices for current fees have been rendered totaling $37,810.88, and there's a commitment to maintain those payment or those fees and good invoices in good standing. More important, as equally important, DSL has now proceeded with retaining an OSL to prepare and register the grant of easement. The terms of the easement have already been finalized and were part of the original agreement in any event. So given the commitments and the more recent steps taken by DSL, Elgin Legal Services is prepared to recommend approval of the payment plan, recognizing that Elgin can and will reserve the right of enforcement of the agreement, including termination if the obligations are not fulfilled in timely fashion. So those are my comments, unless there's any questions.
Thank you for that report, Steve. Any questions? Okay, Jenna.
Be it resolved that the report titled Elgin Diamond Senior Living Corporation Wastewater Treatment Services Agreement, Elgin Manor Wastewater Treatment Plant dated May 15th, 2023 from the General Counsel be received and filed. And that council approve the installment payment proposal made by Diamond Senior Living Corporation and detailed in the report for treatment fees for wastewater discharge to the Elgin Manor Wastewater Treatment Plant from the Royal Oak Senior Living Facility. And that council directs staff to continue efforts to ensure compliance of Diamond Senior Living Corporation with its obligations pursuant to the Elgin Manor Wastewater Treatment Services Agreement as made effective December 23rd, 2020.
We have a mover and seconder, please. Counselor Whitner will move and Counselor Sloan will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Brings us on to section 7, council correspondence, 7.1 items for consideration. 7.11, we have a resolution for municipality of Bayham recommending the county of Elgin complete a traffic and speed study to address speed limit concerns in the village of Vienna. The correspondence is before you. I don't know if it needs any further explanation. Jenna?
Be it resolved that staff be directed to conduct a speed and traffic study on Plank Road at Shoot Line in Vienna, and that staff be directed to review the 50 km/h speed limit zone on Plank Road at Light Line in Vienna, and that staff be directed to report its findings to County Council at a future meeting.
Okay, do we have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Latham will move. Counselor Jiguer will second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, good. All carried. Thank you. 7.1.2, resolution from the town of Elmer requesting that Elgin County Council review and comment on the proposed Thames Valley District School Board boundary changes for East Elgin Secondary School in Elmer. In the absence of Counselor Cookett, I don't know if anyone was prepared. Counselor Jiguer.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. So first off, Counselor Crockett has prepared a statement he asked me to read on his behalf.
Thank you.
But I did want to preface this with saying that Malahide Council did pass a similar resolution. We share the same concerns. As you know, any impact or changes in attendance affects programming, and if you change programming, it just has a ripple effect on the students, and including on our employers and all the way to economic development. We have unfortunately precedents to that effect. So certainly Malahide and Aylmer share the same sentiment. But I will share Councillor Cookett's words, so his words, not mine, even though the sentiment is shared. So Councillor Cookett says this process is seriously flawed in many ways. EESS is lumped in with the Greater London section, begging the question that this is somehow part of a bigger issue affecting the majority of trustees who are in London. Incorrect information was provided on the website. No rationale has been provided other than that of a superficial examination of feeder school choices. This essentially appears as a gerrymandering exercise and will have serious impact on the school and on the students it targets. The entire process smacks of poor understanding and of inadequate research by the board staff. Councillor Cookett further says the boundary changes will have a profound impact on the program and other ancillary services to students. The TV DSB is doing a disservice to the parents and the students by taking away their choice of where to send their children. It appears that the whole legacy argument, which is only, pardon me, the only rationale offered, is nothing more than an attempt at a bureaucratic neatifying of feeder school options. This should be about people and not numbers. Let us allow the parents to continue to choose which secondary school to send their children. Councillor Cookett concludes with, I ask that Elgin County Council strongly object this proposal and send a letter to each trustee asking for the withdrawal of this bureaucratic proposal.
Thank you. And thanks to Counselor Cookett for his words. Does anyone have any questions or additional comments? Yes, Deputy Warden Jones.
Just a comment. This is just an ongoing battle we've had over the past 4, 5, 6 years, and doesn't surprise me that this is how they're trying to fix a problem for themselves.
Okay, thank you for
I
that.
would move. to
Thank you for
support.
that. Would you like to read the motion, please, Jenna?
Be it resolved that the warden be directed to send a letter to the Thames Valley District School Board of Trustees expressing county council's concerns regarding the proposed school boundary changes affecting the East Elgin Secondary School catchment area.
Okay, there was an alternative as well. Do you want to consider that one or just go with the first? There were motions for you. Let's go with the first one then. So Deputy Warden Jones moved that. Councillor Latham will second that. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. That makes it easier. Section 7.2, items for information. We have several pieces of correspondence. Is there any there that anyone wishes to speak to, unless you want me to read them out? I think it's the most correspondence I've seen on this agenda. And for the acting CAO too. Oh, thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Whitner?
Thank you, Warden. I guess I'm in the right spot here, but there's Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. Let's talk about the PPS.
Okay,
I've had lots of comments over the weekend about what that is doing, will be doing. I don't understand the government's mindset with this, destroying farmland and never getting it back. And I know our own council had a very good discussion about it, and I know we even suggested we'd like to see Mr. Flack at our meeting to discuss what their mindset is about this. Anyway,
okay, that's more in regards to Bill 97, perhaps?
yes.
Yes. I know that I'm aware that the Western Wardens are preparing correspondence on this particular issue. I think we had already directed the acting manager planning to draft correspondence for us on two particular items. I believe it was the lack of requirement of the I don't want to call it a confirmation study, but there was a study for boundary adjustments as well as the 3 dwelling units per agricultural sector. And I know the Federation is involved. There are a lot of comments going to be floating on this thing. So I look forward to that correspondence, getting it signed and getting it sent to the ministry. But thanks for bringing that to council's attention. Is there any other piece of correspondence anyone wants to bring attention to? There's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, bail reform is another one that's top of mind. But I think it's being addressed. Okay, not wishing, oh, Deputy Warden.
Receive and file.
Okay, Jenna?
Be it resolved that correspondence items 7.2.1 to 7.2.14 be received and filed.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Warden Jones. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Jiguer. All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Thank you. Section 8, other business. 8.1, statements inquiries by members. Councillor Widner.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I wanted to bring it, I guess about a year and a half ago, Councilor Malahide put in a request to have the intersection of Imperial Road and Ron McNeil looked at the roundabout. There had been several crashes there. Like in the past 2 years, there's been 2 fatalities in broad daylight, like they did result in deaths. There's been 4 crashes there since the 1st of January. There was actually one last week, was a 3-car in broad daylight in the middle of the day. And actually, I went through that intersection 10 minutes before this crash and I almost got hit. We can study this thing all we want, but I think at the end of the day, we got to be proactive. I want to make sure it's on the queue, be looked at, and not be 5 years down the road if we can possibly look into that, because there's just crash after crash. And I think with the new plant going up, it's going to be a lot busier. And maybe there'd be an opportunity to get some federal money or government money to help us with this, because they're part of the problem, I guess, if we're going to be a lot busier. So, but they're all over. I think they will work. They will work. You have no choice but to stop at a roundabout. So they have put everything up there. They put up flashing lights. They put up rumble strips. They put up dividers. Crashes continue, and they're in broad daylight. And I can hear them from my front porch. The 2 fatalities we heard. Well, it's sad. So anyway, I just want to bring to attention, make sure it's in the queue, and we will be sending a formal resolution from the township district county just so we can keep this moving if we could. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Steve.
We can refer the matter to or make inquiry to engineering services and provide a report back to council.
Okay, I think that would be timely. Any other statements or inquiries by members? Well, I'd like to make a quick statement and congratulate Councillor Latham on his recent appointment as Mayor of West Elgin. And good to have you there, and it's good to have you around this table. So congratulations. Anything further? Okay. 8.2, notice of motion. 8.3, matters of urgency. Which brings us to the closed meeting items.
Be it resolved that we do now proceed into closed meeting session in accordance with the Municipal Act to discuss the following matters under Municipal Act, Section 239(2). For closed meeting item number 1, shared tower incorporated access to highways, Section 239(2) F and K. For closed meeting item number 2, organizational update, Section 239(2) B. And for closed meeting item number 3, interim CAO recruitment, Section 239(2) B and K.
Okay, do we have a mover and seconder for that? Counselor Whitner will move, Counselor Sloan will second. All in favor? That's carried. While we go offline, may I?
Be it resolved that we do now rise and report.
Mover and seconder, please. Sorry. Closed meeting item number 1.
Be it resolved that the warden and chief administrative officer be authorized to execute a telecommunication equipment consent and road user agreement substantially in the standard form approved by county council.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Sloan. Counselor Noble will second. All in favor? That's carried. Closed meeting item number 2, organizational update.
Be it resolved that the report from the Director of Human Resources be received for information.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Sloan. Counselor Hentz will second. All in favor? That's carried. Closed meeting item number 3, interim CAO recruitment.
Be it resolved that staff proceed as directed.
Mover and seconder, Deputy Warden Jones. Counselor Sloan will second. All in favor? That's carried. Motion to adopt recommendations for a committee of the whole.
Be it resolved that we do now adopt recommendations of the Committee of the Whole.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Noble. Counselor Latham will second. All in favor? That's carried. Bylaw number 2324, confirmation.
Be it a first, second, and third read of bylaw number 23-24, being a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the Municipal Council of the Corporation of the County of Elgin at the May 23rd, 2023 meeting.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Noble, Deputy Warden Jones. All in favor? That's carried, which brings us to the adjournment motion.
Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 10:42 a.m. to meet again on June 13th, 2023.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Whitner. Counselor Jiguer. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for your interest in local governance. Have a great day.